Also, Takata, throughout that game, and for everybody watching at home, it was almost a battle of our high dominant teams, almost the top 5 in that last game. Risk and Svi, Swizzy and Vanyak, Seti and Cammy, and overall was won by Sky and Scroll in the end. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to close it out, but you're seeing real shines of greatness from so many players here today.
Starting off once again, shining through the Mount Olympus here. Thomas HD Queasy finished off the early game engagement quickly and instantly just started continuing on their loot path. Will they be able to do it again, though? That's the big question.
Yeah, it almost seems like, I wouldn't say they left early, but they got the loot that they were safely able to get. Maybe a couple shots at Mount Olympus and then went straight for that bunker, which they were obviously met by another one of our top teams here in this lobby, which they had to kind of disengage from. But you're seeing a lot of the adaptations coming out from Queasy and Thomas, which you didn't really see a lot of up until this point. So I'm glad to see a team as great as they have continues to kind of mix it up in the biggest moment of it all.
Trexer, though, has lost Glebski, which is dangerous, especially having so many duos close by. Clownski lost Axe Force as well. Both solos now head-to-head.
He's just going to kind of go on the chase, but maybe he should have just protected himself just a little bit more. Clownski quickly turning around, making him regret that decision. And luckily for him, you can see they're just on the outside of Mount Olympus. So none of those teams realistically should try to venture over, finish off the solo. So I think he has a great shot at getting his teammate back.
Sky Scroll, we saw what they were capable of in game 1. But to make it happen once again, they have to get out of this early game. Shots coming through the windows. You can tell how well they know how to play their drop in terms of rotating through, covering themselves, but will they full-on commit to this engagement? I'm not quite sure.
I'm almost not even sure like how realistic it is. I see Toos was trying to put down some of that cover fire and a whole nother duo right below. And once you kind of hear all that, you notice each other and you notice it's not going to be as safe as it was. Pleasant Park either. A fight that we saw in the beginning of that last game. And honestly, I think there's another team here towards Pleasant Piazza that may have started out in fencing fields in last game. Finn and Avo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's interesting. It seems like normally in a grand finals, you don't see players switching up their drop of game plan too much because there was so much prep and work that was put into it. But sometimes, I guess, just after one game, it might be enough to change your mind.
Surprised to see like everybody kind of disengaging out of Pleasant Piazza for now, but it's very, very busy. At least 4 teams in this direction. So I'm personally a little bit surprised not to see too many early engagements going down. But with an extra team over in the mix, it does make it a little bit more risky.
Ooh. Look at this. Grimgate looking a lot more aggressive this time around. Before it was more pop shots from different areas. One duo grabbed the height, other just tried and secure the medallion. Looks like Malibu Khmer Stash got quite a few tags off, but not enough for them to feel comfortable enough to go fully in. The Underworld, another place contested by 3 duos, one of them being Marius and Sangilt. It looks like from those 3 duos, there's only one left. And it might even just be one player. Where's Turtle's duo?
Trying to see where Cheeps is at.
Ooh,
he's actually on the high ground. Yep, using that water bending ability to try to a couple more damage. Marius knocks him down to size. A couple shots are going to get through, and the knock is going to be achieved along with the elimination. Marius and Sango continue to find ways to operate at the Underworld. It looks like he might have even boxed up Turtle here for the moment. They're ready to go in. Turtle's ready to go out as him and Cheeps run in game 2 quickly comes to an end.
Turtle put back into his shell, now forced to wait for the 3rd game as we quickly switch on over. Nefrizzi Howley looking to see what they can clean up.
A lot of these early game fights and no eliminations just yet, but that is some big damage onto Nefrizzi. Pixie's there trying to back him up. Howley's also trying to join the mix, alleviate some of the pressure, but quick thinking, quick shots coming out from Pixie. Both of these players are basically down and out, and you can see them trying to attack from many different angles, and Walks, while being distracted by Pixie, is able to easily clean up both of those eliminations and defend their turf.
Great way to continue it through. Dexia Eclipse now. playing extremely aggressive on this duo on the edge of the map. You know, there's not too many teams close by, so they should have a lot of freedom here if they end up wanting to close it out. But so far, it looks like it's pop shots, it's angles trying to be found.
Yeah, a lot of time, like you said, over at this side of the map, knowing you have a ton of comfortability, knowing it's not going to be third parties. It's basically down to a 2v2, which hopefully a lot of these players have practiced up until this point. Splash is down below, just trying to make space for himself and his duo. Clips and Dexy just continuously trying to hound from multiple angles, catch him off guard. And you can see they're playing very, very careful with the high ground, so that way when it comes down to it, they can easily try to disengage on out, knowing that they got enough damage to where they can at least feel comfortable from here on out.
It's a great way to start it off as we go back over to the Grim Gate. We talked about it previously. There is kind of that Grim Reaper, as Frankie called them, for Doxy and Trip, who play on the outskirts of the Grim Gate and come into attack as everybody else is fighting as a potential third or fourth party. But you can see how much loot they've actually secured already, and shields and everything. I mean, they're looking quite healthy. Only ammunition is what they're lacking, but it looks like they might even be being chased here on the minimap. Yeah, shots coming in from Vostroki, the waterbending mythic. But it looks like they're just right behind Murstache and Malabuka, wanting to claim that bunker.
That's where I like watching a lot of these forecast fires. Towers fights kind of go down. Very, very similar to the Grim Gates ones. You get a lot of knowledge, and Teeny and Chap yet again are going to get back-to-back forecast towers in these games, and already you see them 15th place on that leaderboard. So a huge tool in their tool belt to continue to make it long and far into these end games, especially when it comes to being able to go to the slower side of that rotation of the zone, knowing where and when to kind of attack it. For Doxy's shields getting dropped off by Murstache on the other side. Him and Malabuka just trying to take multiple angles, and the thing is, they don't necessarily know this is Tripper and Fordoxy, but Tripper and Fordoxy might have a huge clue, thanks to the medallion, that this is Murstache and Malabuka, so they're able to plan accordingly.
So far, no warnings of a big threat, as shots continue to be shot from both ends. No danger for either duo yet. It's kind of that back and forth that we see around these bunkers, time in and time out. And until a big shot's connected, you can choose to continue that momentum and play extra aggressive, but if nothing happens, it might just be a little bit of damage for both duos.
Yeah, what's worrisome is what you kind of mentioned moments ago is the ammunition for Tripper and Fordoxy. It is not a ton in his Thunderburst, and even less in his Gatekeeper. So both of these guys are kind of on the clock when it comes to how long they can actually stay in this situation. And I was wondering where Cammy was at, because I was watching the feed. Said he was taken down. He was taken out altogether. Kind of leaves a lot on the shoulders of Cammy. With the zone moving towards the north, it's not going to be too hard for him to try to get the reboot card back, but you could see the big thing in his path. It might look like the card is being camped for now, hoping that Cammy goes back for it, and he's hoping that maybe that's where he's going to get a second elimination.
This is a tough spot to be in so far in zone, especially with the amount of damage they have to secure. We'll see if they make the comeback, but let's get right back to the party. Looks like another duo has joined, but so far they're just kind of taking a peek at it, deciding is it worth it to commit to.
Yeah, they're probably just waiting right now until they hear big damage, see a knock on their screen. And the thing is, these two guys, two teams down below fighting over the bunker may not even necessarily know where these guys are positioned right on the outside. Cammy now went back for the card. It was actually being watched on over. And this is a big chance with his opponent weak for him to kind of come out on top. Depending on if you got the reboot card or not, don't necessarily mind the disengage either. But definitely Cammy is now going to be on the clock with only 2 bananas left.
On the other end, Murstache has gone down, Trip as well. It's a 1 versus 1 for Doxy up against Malabuka. Third party is still on the outskirts, and they're going to be getting closer.
Yeah, the trade for trade. Now you got Fastroki coming in on the other side. Malabuka goes right back on in, taking down Fordoxy and Tripperin, but ends up in another 1v2 situation with even less shields than he had before. Quick thinking, going in and out of the box, trying to reposition himself, and he's in a spot right now with another third-party team coming in. That could be the distraction that he needs to figure out a way to stay alive here, because there's a lot of fallen loot on those players from before, and there's even probably some scraps left over in the bunker.
Instant disengagement, though, after that elimination. Bunkering out. Gonna get secured in Malibuca. Only thing he got was those 2 eliminations from tripping for Doxy. Lost his duo partner in the meantime.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. How long is Malibuca gonna wait right now? Does he know that team is there? Just so many questions right now, Takata.
Yeah, I'd like to hope that he does. I'm not sure. I believe he got the card as he has the dashes. So he is gonna get chased, but I was going to say the bright side is if he gets chased out of the zone, it's likely that they stop chasing after a while. But as he gets closer and closer to the zone, especially with the river of sticks, that water that grants you those dashes, I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
Oh, Malibuca is actually trying to hide, get a little bit of a cheeky shot, and quickly dashes on back. But sooner or later, he's going to run out of those dashes and need to re-reach the water. And that's why he's taking a little bit of a detour in this building, trying to regenerate as much of that sprint as possible. Roban, for a moment there, ran out himself, but he's still just hot on the chase for Malibuca until he finally goes down. It's going to be a big elimination for Fastroki and Roban.
Let's take a look at what happened to Cammy here. With his attempt to get back to the zone. How did... Well, that's one way to pick up an elimination, I guess. Nice shots from the DMR.
And I think, depending on how long it took, because said he was down for quite a while, but I know Cammy at least made one effort to go in before disengaging that far out. If he has this reboot card, gets close to zone, it is going to be a one tick. He has the legendary banana for speed, he has the flowberry fizz, and then he has multiple opportunities here for damage. This is almost like a replay of last major's Malibuca qualifier, to where he went in the zone, he stayed in there for a long time while still getting surge. So that way, if he does get the reboot back up, they're not going to be so far down that storm surge threshold, having to fight their way back up.
Luckily enough, medkits are in the inventory, so they'll be able to recuperate all the shield they're using to take this later rotate in the zone. Veno and Tayson in a similar situation. A lot of duos just kind of doing what they can to get the zone safely here and be in a position that is not going to put them on the most congested side of zone.
Chucking some medkits just a little bit later on, try to keep them moving. They're not too far off from the zone. It's not going to do too much damage. You can see there's just one solo player rotating just to the east of them, trying to make their way there. Hopefully he doesn't get spotted out by Veno and Tayson. Their team, you can almost for sure count on them to try to pounce on a solo if they see that opportunity. And in the distance, finally he's getting spotted out, and it's Cammy of all people by himself. He's already put in a lot of work to not only get the reboot card back, but take down the opponent who took down Seti. So to go down now would just be a huge disaster for Cammy and Seti.
I think they're far enough that it's not going to be a danger for Cammy yet. They don't even look like they're going to try and hold him in the zone. With fourth zone now coming to a close, though, you can see Storm Surge. Tace and Veno, though, looks like they're not going to be as much in a rush as they were last game, being such on the borderline. But the Buell, on the other hand, might have to do a bit more.
Game number one victors. You got to be feeling so good. Come in, get your first VR in FNCS Finals history for yourself. Teammate has to be feeling confident. 97 points. All they have to do realistically is just kind of keep up the pace. A lot of the teams, you know, that we expected to have good games in game one did not necessarily, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before those things start to switch up. So if they can just continue to stay ahead of their competition, like I said, day one, all about building that cushion for day two, where there is a point multiplier for both eliminations and placement points overall.
Vanyak getting tagged as he was continuing to look for those shots. They do have that one elimination already, so hopefully not in too much of an urgency to find a lot more, but just 9 seconds until fifth zone will appear, forcing a lot of these duos to rotate.
And Vanyak already so far has about like 1,700 damage up until this point in game two. 3 eliminations. Him and Swizzy just figuring always out a way to make things work throughout this competition. You're going to see a far pull for some of these teams, all while still having to worry about Storm Surge in this next zone, Takata.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to be in. Taking a look at the leaderboard too, it's so close, all these duos. But you can't even think of it that way with so many matches to be played out. It's all about being able to get out of these situations consistently. Queasy, Thomas HD lining up a 3-2-1 into walks. Few shots connected, but no crack.
I really like how they've been able to adapt in game one with a different zone. You see them yet again adapting with their loadout. No wings this time around. Trying to take an extra heal. Obviously, the Flowberry Fizz is going to be a must for some of these rotations, and they're not too far off from zone. So as long as they can work on their Storm Surge, and my question instantly answered, 400 above, Thomas and Queasy have to be in such a great position in this game to possibly get a top 5, top 10. That's where this team has to start getting those consistent placements towards the top of the leaderboard. You cannot win an FNCS off of eliminations alone.
Yeah, if any duo is going to capitalize on having a bunch of damage so early on, it's Thomas HD and Queasy. They know how to play out of grand finals. They've done it multiple times. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, they have a huge match here. Skavi, though, nice 105. Onto Vortexers. Volko now, trying to give him a bit of time to breathe.
$113. Not too off from the zone. Scroll is just having a little bit more of a rough time trying to stay alive, but on the other side, it's Chap versus Scroll, essentially in a 1v1 situation. It might be a little bit of a trade for the rebuy, but Scroll realized he doesn't want to let this trade go out for free. He did not have the advantage in terms of that revive, so if they were going to go for a trade, he would be put in a 1v2 much quicker than the other side as Sky finally gets cleaned up. Teeny goes down as well, so it's official. They will be left as solos no matter what happens in this fight, as Scroll just trying to fight his way back. Almost surviving with the legendary banana. Both of these players popping that banana, and it kept them with just a sliver of HP. That's going to be a huge win for Chap, but it's only going to be short-lived because right now he's getting aggressed on yet again.
You said it yourself. The win must have felt good, but only for a couple seconds till shots came through from Murban. The thing is, I don't think Murban actually tagged Chap, so he did not know how low he was. Also, being in the zone is going to cause him to rotate right back in. There is another duo sneaking up. So much damage has been dealt by Chap and Teeny that they don't have to worry about tags, but Skavi and Haris, nice pickup onto Vortexers. Volko maybe followed on shortly after, but the pressure is still on for those duos.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for them to kind of get that reboot or revive back on up, heal up, and get a good position in the zone. And that's why you see teams like this, as soon as the zone begins to move, they go into those rifts, they immediately try to cover as much distance as possible. But you can see they're getting tagged in from some high positions off the side of that mountain. So as good a position as they could have got, they got to settle for this, which isn't too bad as long as Marius can start to heal up and alleviate some of the pressure that is bound to come.
Scary shot got connected. Let's see if Chap was able to do it. No. It looks like he actually might have been able to. We got both elims and the reboot onto his duo. A little pack of loot llamas knocking on his door that he picked up. Hopefully now that's going to give him enough to make it back into zone. Cammy, though, still left alone.
That was a huge elimination. Unfortunately, short-lived. They did just get taken down as well. But it just goes to show the potential of this team. They can fight any fight. They can almost get out of any situation. But when you're put in a sour situation after sour situation, eventually those will kind of get the best of you. As Cammy, we've seen him literally almost at the start of the game up until now as a solo. And this is going to be some big points here for Cammy and Seti if they're able to kind of get these impact points that Cammy's looking for by himself.
Thomas HT, though, taking a peek. I don't know if he's seen Cammy as he's shooting at the duos behind him, but Cammy's done such a great job of making it into zone here before his opponents, and not a single shot has landed onto him. Shows you how useful that Flowberry Fizz can be if you put a great mind alongside it.
Now they see him.
And now
they finally saw him as soon as he got past enemy lines. Queasy was like, hey, did you see this guy back here? Thomas said, nah, I don't. Is he a solo? Now if they don't have the information that Cammy even got there, they might not even know that he's a solo by himself. He's built boxes too wide, so it's going to be easy for him to cloud himself. But you see Queasy and Thomas, now that they noticed his location, they are moving over in that direction because they don't want to let anybody get past them for free. They waited till the zone opened up, then they moved to cover that position. That way they have the best and safest line of sight.
You can see what happened to Cringe here. Looks like it was a solo knocking on its door, but quickly turned lethal as they picked up their 5th elim of the match.
Doing good. Uncontested Lavish Layer. No longer Queasy and Thomas landing over on that side of the map, which gives them a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. It's almost in the center map with multiple bunker options. So if they can play their cards right, could definitely kind of come out with some great points here in this game. It's Tace and Veno. With some of the struggles from them going down relatively early in that last game, or at least earlier than they would hoped, it's going to be a big moment for them to pop off, start to build that momentum, and really carry it on with them to the second half of the day.
You see zone hands pulled towards Thomas HD and Queasy here. That 8th zone is all the duos now. Try and prep their rotation to get there. Just 7 seconds till zone starts closing. Swizzy, Vanyak. Look at their loadout. Look at their materials. Even the mobility. They have it all.
Swizzy and Vanyak, they had a definitely good game as Cammy tripling his points already with a couple teams going down. Nice shot right there. 119. Giving him a little bit more confidence when it comes to that storm surge. And eventually it might start to build up to where he can go for elimination if he does find a player by himself, a splash and feint. To leave 3rd place in that game 1. Down on surge. Easily covers that gap. Does look like his teammate was getting aggressed on. He's quickly there to save the day. That first shot did so much because look how much his teammate survived with. If he didn't land that shot, his teammate would have for sure went down.
Banana dropped.
Uh-oh.
HP recuperated, but for how long? After saving his teammate, now he's the one that needs saving. Both players gone down. Difficult rotate in. Marius, Sandguild are going to be the ones that capitalized on that, as they have to be careful, though. So many duos surrounding them. I'm not even sure if they can get the loot.
Marius just being very, very careful. I don't know if he heard you talking about how dangerous it was. Quickly turns around, builds the wall. And now he's just feeling it out 1 layer at a time before he moves forward. One of the first teams to rotate, though, is going to be Tayson and Veno, trying to get the slower, at least congested side of the zone. There is a couple teams meeting them in their path, a little bit of high ground, but currently distracted. This would be the perfect time for them to try to move forward, but Veno with a snipe in hand, just kind of waiting. This is something that he does, him and Tayson. They target out that high ground team, which right now looks like to be Queasy and Thomas.
We talked about how healthy they were looking, how good of a match this could be for Queasy and Thomas. But what have I just done? As soon as I say it, Thomas HD gets knocked and Queasy as well.
Oh, disaster strikes yet again for Thomas and Queasy from 2nd place by 1 point to having a nightmare of a first day throughout 2 games. But Cammy, he's really trying to make up for his teammate going down early. 24 points as a solo so far. 28 if you count his elimination that he was able to get early on. Still making things happen, but Cringe, Noms, 5 eliminations so far. They have the biggest control over the high ground, but I don't want to say it too soon. Last game we saw 4 or 5 teams, and you already see one waiting in the wings to steal it away.
You could even see Veno Tayson not only getting ahead, also moving up layers, getting closer and closer to that 2nd height, where they have a potential angle with the sniper rifle for height. Marius left alone, forced to pop the banana, and he's going to play back a zone here.
Yeah, no troubles yet. Just staggering himself. That way he can have a clear field straight ahead. He finds another Flowberry Fizz, which isn't much, but 1 charge is better than none, as Marius trying to make it in towards the zone. Doesn't have a lot of builds to protect himself, especially if he gets pounced on like this. Barely had enough. But now with his HP being dwindled, not enough shields to get him back up to full HP, and no builds to his name as well. Marius has to find some sort of elimination.
Continues to break on in, but as the clock keeps ticking, the zone keeps pulling further, and his materials now drop to 0. He needs an impact frag, he needs an elimination, but he gets dropped down to 6 HP. Shots continuing from above. Goes down. Cammy now left alone.
Yeah, it was Pink and Vico who sniped away that elimination and get a chance to get the Underworld Medallion. And a team like Pink and Vico with the ability to have Siphon will be huge, especially when they just take down Veno, truck right through him, separating him and Tayson, who went down as well. Another run has been ended by one of the most consistent teams in Major 2.
This is a lethal duo in the late game, especially when they're both up. They have the chemistry. They know how to secure elimination after elimination on the low ground, and they're going to do exactly that.
Which is big. They've had only one elimination in game 1, playing a little bit slow, but now's the time to pick up the pace. Cammy having a wonderful game, 44 points, all as a solo since the start of the game, reaching to a top 6 position. Still has some bandages left, and right now he's trying to target out high ground. That's that's Vanyak and Swizzy, excuse me, there, who spotted him out at the tail end. Even though they're getting chopped down, it's no worries for them.
This is incredible. Top 6 already as a solo, basically. Cammy, he's not even done yet. Sees a duo, forced to back down. Shots from above, no materials, not many options. Eventually gonna drop. It's Pink, it's Vico, but Vico goes down as well. Pink gets the knock on Vanille as he continues his wrath.
No Siphon coming out from Pink. They weren't able to get the medallion, and I think that is going to be it, barring any miracles, as Pink gets shut down, taken out. It's Swizzy, it's Vanyak there on the high ground, and they're targeting out Reason, who's all by himself, all by his lonesome, and stood no chance against Swizzy and Vanyak, who steal away game 2.
Double-digit 11 elimination victory royale. This is one of the duos we talked about in the honorable mentions that could take home Major 2 as champions. They drop at Brawlers Battleground, and from southern part of the map all the way to up north, they secured the VR. It's really what you love to see.
Man, they started this game with 5 eliminations in game 1. They knew that wasn't enough. They had a ton left in the tank. They realized it's a marathon and not a race, and they even matched their elimination totals and bested in this game. Swizzy alone, and it's moments like this, like that right there, where you survive with just 5 HP and a dream. And then you eventually just take the game with double-digit eliminations, Takata. Impressive.
And they're eliminating the best of the best on the European region. This isn't the qualifiers. This isn't the semis. This is the grand finals, and what a way to start it off. Game 2 was incredible, but there are surely some things that we missed. So, Frankie, Levin, Minnie, what do you got?